Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Last Place Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your co host, Josh, along with my co hosts, Ethan and Ryan. And today we're about to tell you about the soul crushing position that is tight ends.
I'm excited.
Which is pretty much Travis Kelce and
Yeah,
everyone else.
I mean, there's really nothing much going on right now, especially within the tight end position, besides the fact that it's Travis Kelsey's house and we're all just living in it.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we could honestly end the episode right there,
Yes.
and that would just
Welcome to
be
the
it.
episode
That'd be
on
enough
tight ends.
information.
If you didn't have
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, this is the end of the video.
Yeah, I just want to bring this up. This is the hilarious part. So, based on our consistency grades, yes, the tight ends episode might be this short. We do have something else planned afterwards. But if you want to look at the bust percentage on the tight ends, Travis Kelsey is the only tight end within the top 15 that's below 30%.
Hmm.
You realize how painful that is? There is literally nothing that you can do. It's you had Travis Kelsey, and if you didn't win, shame on you. And I'm looking at myself for that one.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Josh, I wonder who that would apply to.
Oh yeah, that would definitely apply to me.
Hmm.
I just did not expect Cam Akers to get 41 points.
Well, you can also blame me a little bit because right before playoffs, I had the opportunity to beat Phillip, which would have taken him out, and then I didn't.
That would have been nice. That would have been real nice.
But we
Yeah.
just kind of took it last year, and we're gonna move on.
Yeah, we're just gonna move on. So I mean, I'm just gonna bring up the top 15 tight ends just to go through our stats here. I mean, one, Travis Kelsey, no surprise. But number two, we're looking at TJ Hawkinson. Three is George Kittle. Four is Mark Andrews. Five is Evan Ingram. Six is technically Taysom Hill. Seven is Tyler Higbee. Eight is Pat Fryermuth. Nine is Cole Kmet. 10 is Dallas Goddard. Dalton Schultz comes in at 11. Njoku at 12. Gerald Everett at 13. Jawan Johnson at 14. Dawson Knox at 15. And really, there's only a few others even outside of that list I think we do need to bring up. But as far
Okay.
as the top 15, it's
Yeah.
go
Well,
ahead,
and
Ryan. I don't know
I've
where to go
got
from
I've
here.
got something. Okay, so out of the top 10 that most of them you just listed, which one is like the biggest surprise to make
In
it
the
into
top
the
10?
top 10? I have my answer.
I think my
Honestly.
answer based on the boom bust percentage might be Cole Kmet, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
See, mine is Taysom Hill. I think, if he wasn't listed as a tight end, I think, but
Didn't he also
I
have
don't
like
know.
monster games?
Well, see what pretty much put him in here. Will pretty much put him at the top of this list, or at near the top of this list, was his rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he had so many rushing attempts. I think it was like 96 rushing
It
attempts.
it was literally adding another running back in your tight end spot.
Yeah, and
Like a low end
he's
running back.
see
Yeah.
that's why Taysom Hill, his bust percentage is really high. His boom percentage is surprisingly high for a tight end, but that's because you get these monster games from him,
Yeah.
every once in a while. But then he's like bust the rest of the time.
I think what's worse is just that after
It's
tight
just
end
frustrating.
5, you're basically just chasing a big game.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so that's what I've realized is like your Fryermuth, your Higbees, Komet, Goddard, especially. I'm just looking at them as like as soon as they have their big game, get rid of them because it's not happening again.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
so back on Taysom Hill, what's funny about him is it's like I feel for like PFF trying to figure out where he goes, or like Sleeper, all these other websites trying to figure what to classify him. And he just walks in the room. It's like, all right, and what position do you play? Yes. It's like, well,
Exactly.
Yes.
He
you
Yeah,
is
know,
exactly.
he is if your flex spot is an actual position
yeah,
in football.
Yeah. He is the pretty much the jack of all trades when it comes to skill positions in the NFL. Like he can play anything and everything and
right.
play it pretty well. Like
Yeah,
surprisingly
I would
well.
say so.
So like
Yeah.
he's just a straight up athlete. Like not good at one specific thing, or he's not great at one specific thing. He's good at everything.
Right.
So I don't know. Seeing him in the top 10 for tight end was kind of a surprise for me.
I think Higby's
I
kind of
would
surprising
expect,
too.
Yeah,
with how they utilize him, I just figured he'd be, you know, honestly down near where Juwan Johnson is, who's his kind of counterpart in there. Um, so I figured he would be in like the teens, but to see him as the number 6 tight end,
but
that's
that
honestly a
that goes
surprise.
to show you how bad tight ends was this year. I think
Yeah.
it can't be understated.
Yeah,
This is something I was telling Ryan beforehand, but if Travis Kelsey was a wide receiver, he'd be wide receiver 4. TJ Hawkinson would be like wide receiver like 25 or something like that,
Which still isn't bad.
which still isn't bad, but that's a huge drop off.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
and this is where I mean, I think a lot of people thought, hey, that it's coming around. The tight end position is going to be back like it was in the 2010s.
No.
And it just got worse. Like it was because like here's your top 5
for
like
real.
ADP. It was Kelsey, Kittle, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts. Mark Andrews definitely underperformed. Kelsey is the only one
Yeah, near
who
the end of the year.
performed. Kittle somehow got lucky, but it was with Brock Purdy. So it was at the end of the year. And by then, your teams were probably already eliminated from playoff contention. And then
Hmm.
Waller and Pitts fell off the face of the earth.
Both due to injuries.
Yeah. Yeah. Including him. So that's where it just goes. There's what do you do here, especially in the in dynasty format? I think I want to put that emphasis
The answer
because
is suffer.
the answer is who?
Suffer.
Yeah, suffer.
Suffer. That I mean, that's pretty
Does
much
does
that
it
is pretty
get
much it.
better? That's the real question.
Well, and so here's the
Oh
thing for
God, I
me,
hope
like
so.
looking at it. So like this season, I lost most of my games by I'd say anywhere from like 2 to 8 points. And my tight end for most of the year was Hayden Hurst. So tight end, what is that, 19?
Yeah,
Averaging 7 points a game. So like that's what's
Oof.
so painful for me because it's like none of these guys are good options. You lose a lot of close games, and it's like, okay, well, where's my tight end at?
Yeah,
yeah, and there's literally just, especially I think the hype around that teams were going more 12 personnel. So it's like, oh yes, 2 tight ends on the field. I actually have a chance, and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like
well, it's because it. I don't know. I think it like dilutes the tight end pool, because you do have so many tight ends out there now that they're not getting the high concentration of targets or anything like that. There's very few like Mandrews and Kelsey who are, and even I guess Hawkinson now, who are highly featured in their
it took a
offenses.
trade. Like I was surprised by Hawkinson because I was like, oh wow, Hawkinson tight end 2 came
Yeah.
out like he ended the year really well. Looking back on it, I went, wow, that's actually not as good of a year as I thought it was.
Hmm.
Only
Yeah.
boomed twice. I mean, he kind of killed your fantasy team 8 times, and a lot of that definitely was with the Lions, and then even a couple times with the Vikings.
Yeah.
And when your tight end 2 is having a bust percentage of 47%,
Yeah.
like at that point you might as well just like kiss your season goodbye because of a tight end, and then you're gonna
Yeah.
have to reinvest in like the wide receiver or running back position and pray your slot just goes off. I mean, not your slot,
Right.
your flex spot.
And can I ask y'all a quick question before we really dive into the stats?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What
Let's
did you
do it.
think about Trey McBride, Jelani Woods, Isaiah Likely, and Chig? What kind of play?
I have some
I'll let
thoughts to
you. I'll
this.
let you take likely.
Oh,
Do it.
well, no, I'm just gonna say as bad as this year was, I do think we're on the rise of peak tight end play coming up soon.
Yeah.
I think it's coming. And the only reason why is that we're seeing more tight ends get drafted. So Jelani Woods, likely Trey McBride. And I think the game is shifting towards the tight ends being too big for a corner and then too fast for a linebacker. And then on top of that, a lot of teams like the extra blocker there. I do think we're going to enter into the 2010s era where you're going like Ed Dixon, Dennis Pitta, okay, Rob Gronkowski. I'm not going to say, but Gronk,
Mum's the word, Josh. Mum's the word.
it is the word. And then on top of that, I mean, that was also Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, um, Dallas Clark around that mid 2010s era. So there was a
Yeah.
point where tight ends was such an important part of the offense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because Antonio Gates he was kind of like a Kelsey leading the NFL in points at one
Yep.
point when he was at the Chargers.
Yeah, and
I think we can see it again.
I think we will see it again. I actually think it does start with the rookies.
I think this year is going to
Yeah.
be quite the turnaround.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there was a lot of injuries, a lot of just missteps with tight end planning. And I think a lot of people are going to watch what the Chiefs did last year. Now, granted, not all of these tight ends are the same talent as, Travis Kelsey, but I think there's a lot of things that they can learn from how the Chiefs used Kelsey and kind of implement that into the game because we saw a lot of offenses just force feeding wide receivers, which is why they scored an ungodly amount of points this year. But I think we're going to see that switch off a little
But
bit.
even then, what's hilarious is that scoring overall in the NFL was one of the lowest in recent memory, and a lot of that was because of the cover two shell. Who's the
Mm,
best person to kind of break the cover two shell and kind of force your hand is tight
right.
ends.
Right.
Mhm.
So I mean, I say like I don't even want to go into who to like going down each person. I kind of want to talk about next year and just go, who do you think is outside of this top 15? Actually, let's start with who's out of the top 5 that you think can jump into the top 5.
Can we start with
Oh,
the
I
easy answer
mean,
first? Hold
yeah,
on.
the
Easy
easy
answer first. Go
answer.
ahead, Ryan.
Go
Yeah.
no Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle Pitts he has the skill. He's in a good position in Atlanta. I think, he could boom next year after having a really bad sophomore slump.
Where would you
Well,
And
draft Kyle
he
he's
could
Pitts?
he's
boom.
gonna have a
As of
QB that's not gonna overthrow him anymore.
Yeah, and well,
Yeah.
and utilize it.
But
You
on
know,
top of that, they were more willing to use Drake London.
mhm,
Algier definitely became the top back,
yeah.
assuming they add another receiver, whether that's the draft or free agency. You
Well,
you can start cooking there.
here's what to
He
look
definitely
at
could.
for Pitts. Think about how involved Pruitt was at the end of the year with
Yep.
Ritter.
Hmm.
He
Yeah,
got all of his
exactly.
points over the last 3 games.
Exactly. And I it was very encouraged by that, um, seeing how the tight end was utilized, and that was with Michael Pruitt. I mean, it
Right.
wasn't a Kyle Pitts out there.
Now
But
So,
yeah, you
imagine
change that out
Kyle
for
Pitts.
Pitts, and you
yeah,
take those
exactly.
numbers and put it over 17 games with an injection of talent, and you've got, I think, a top 3 tight end for next year.
Yeah,
It could be.
and the crazy thing is just I think quarterback play for the last 2 years has been a major issue when
Yeah.
it comes to Kyle Pitts. But
Yeah,
this is where this might be your best chance to get him, especially within a dynasty
yeah,
format. Like buy low, Ryan. I'm coming for you
yeah.
there. And then but I
Ain't
think
gonna happen.
he's definitely a target to look for.
He
I think
is.
so.
Yeah, you can definitely buy low on Kyle Pitts right now. Just after
Oh yeah,
this
how low,
last
Ryan?
year.
Yeah,
How
hello
low
Ryan.
can I buy,
Hello
Ryan?
Ryan.
How low can I buy
Oh,
him?
I'm one of the people who haven't given up on him. But I you can definitely buy low in other leagues, not ours, because I own him. No. But you can definitely buy low, especially after this last year. He busted so hard that it's hard for normal fantasy players to have the foresight to see further into next year and his value potentially. So I this year is definitely a buy low year for
Where do y'all
Kyle
think he's
Pitts.
going to go? Just like what
In
round
redrafts
in redraft?
or in startup dynasty.
I mean,
Okay,
in redraft, he's probably going like sixth, seventh round.
and
I would
Yeah,
say.
I would say 8 or 9 because I think the pain is still going to be there about
yeah.
Kyle
Yeah, and that
Pitts.
could be true
People
too.
are gonna be wary. People are gonna be wary because it's. I mean, it's not a solid hit that he's going to perform this year.
Yeah. Now,
You
where
know,
would you
there's
draft him
still
in
the
his?
risk.
Yeah, there's still very much the risk. Now, where would you draft him in Startup Dynasty?
I'd take
Oh
him
Lord,
fourth.
I was going to say
I
fourth or
wouldn't take him
fifth.
at fourth. I'd do fifth. I'd feel comfortable doing it in the fifth round. After you got some key players, then you can start taking risk. But I don't know. I don't know.
That's
Um,
fair.
I'm very hopeful. There's also obviously the risk of him not performing.
Yeah.
But
But
other
scared money
than
don't make
going
money, Ryan.
That is true.
going back to your question, um, I think Dulcich might
Ooh,
make a move into the top,
Greg,
at least 15.
I like that pick.
Um, I think Oton might.
Yep.
Um,
There's
just
one
because,
guy. I think
yeah.
Ethan and I have the same guy, but
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Ethan, you want to say it at the same time?
I have a different one, so
Oh,
I
you have
want
a
to hear.
different one?
I
Okay.
have a different one.
Chigo Conquo is my pick.
I do like Chig.
Okay.
That was like my
Okay.
second one.
Okonkwo. All
Um,
right.
other than my one before Chig, um, I think we can see a lot out of Dallas Goddard next year.
Ooh, I like that. And I think he would have been top 5 had he not gotten hurt.
Right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Dalton Schultz is the
Mm-hmm.
same way, and that was the thing I want to bring up too, is both those tight ends who were pretty dominant last year towards the back half missed a fairly significant amount of time due to injuries.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean, I'm
do you think that Malik Willis affects Chig?
I
Like, do
think
you think he'll favor him or
I think the
no?
fact that Traylon Burks is the only receiver like active on the team at the moment is affecting things.
Well, I mean, they got Westbrook Akine, but I
He's a free
Yeah.
agent this year.
oh, is he? I
Yes.
Yep.
didn't know that.
He sure is.
Interesting.
So
So
Traylon Burks is the only active receiver on the team
they're
at the moment.
probably gonna
You know what?
they're
You know
probably
what my
gonna be
favorite
pushing
video was?
receiver than in the draft. That'll
Did
be
y'all see the video right after the draft? It was about Traylon Burks, and it was the Family Guy comparison with the mystery box. It's like you can keep AJ Brown, or you can have this mystery box, which might be AJ Brown. Opens it up, it's Traylon Burks, and just has his fantasy scores on it. I'm like, oh no,
Oh no.
oh no,
Oh no, but I
it was
definitely
so
think
wrong.
that's painful.
it's
But I
terrible.
mean, we
It's
saw
terrible.
had it not been for Tannehill just dying, not
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, but as had it not been for him kind of getting
Fantasy.
hurt, yeah,
Yeah.
dying in fantasy
Fantasy wise, he
terms,
died.
uh, Chig was going off, and he was
yeah.
starting to turn a corner, which is something you don't see out of rookie tight ends.
Well, and Jelani
Yeah.
looked that way too.
Had Matt Ryan not
Mm-hmm.
fallen off the face of the earth,
Yeah.
which that
Well,
makes
and
me
even
more
Isaiah Likely had moments of that.
yeah, which I would say so. I kind of want to go through the rookie receivers and why I'm going to give a reason why I'm excited for each. Trey McBride, it's not Cliff anymore. That's my reason. Jelani Woods, at this point, I mean, we are having this episode as the quarterbacks are doing their scouting combine. And I don't know how Jim Irsay doesn't make the move to go get Anthony Richardson at 1.
Mhm.
I think
Mm.
it's a guarantee at this point. So Jelani Woods, you get Anthony Richardson, Shane Steichen, sign me up. Isaiah Likely, Monken's going to be Todd Monken, the OC, is going to be doing a lot of like 2 tight end sets, most likely.
Yeah,
And
but
then
how do you feel if Lamar ends up going somewhere else?
I'll still feel I'll feel pretty good about it, largely because Lamar does have a slight issue of hyper targeting Mark Andrews. So that means I do know if Lamar were to leave, that gets dispersed. Though I think Lamar is still the ceiling. Either way, I do think how Likely was used last year was so blatantly bad. even though he had flashes of greatness. And a lot of the big issue I had with that is that if you're going to overload yourself on tight end, you're going to have to use them in different spots. So that's when
Right.
at the end of the year, you started seeing Mark Andrews being used as a boundary receiver. And I was like, you've had likely all year. Why didn't you do that earlier?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something I see like potentially coming up. And then I mean Okonkwo, he basically is the starting tight end already.
Yeah.
So
I
I
would say
I
so.
think he'll get the targets, the reps, like he's ready to go.
Okay. Okay.
I agree
Is there
with you.
anybody else outside of that top 15 maybe that you see
I want to say
entering into the
I
top?
want to say Waller, but it's been 2 straight years of pain.
Yeah. I mean, I think Zach
Yeah.
Ertz makes the push and gets back into the top 15.
How do y'all feel about Daniel Bellinger of the Giants? He's another rookie tight end. He did pretty solid, but we know
Where
the
did he
Giants
finish
are
at?
going to be what happened?
Where did he finish at?
He finished at tight end 34, but largely because he had his orbital socket fractured this year.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. But I mean, even then he wasn't really producing a whole lot.
No, but
Um,
it was just like, oh hey, 8 9 points, I'll take it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I like that the Giants team. I like them a lot. So I think if they can get like, their Bellinger and oh man, who's the guy that they picked up for their playoff run? Wide receiver. You
Oh,
threw him
Isaiah
in.
Mhm.
Hodgins.
Yeah, if they can get
Yeah.
Hodgins, Bellinger
Yeah,
going,
they
I like
signed him.
Daniel Jones. I don't like Daniel Jones for $40 million, but I like Daniel Jones
Hey,
on that
so
$45 million.
guys, can I put a tinfoil hat on real quick?
always.
Do it.
I
Do it.
swear, if Daniel Jones signs for 45 million, Lamar's about to get 70.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
But I
Really.
if
do
Daniel
think
Jones
I
gets 45, he's going to get 70 fully guaranteed.
yeah, so the thing about that is I do think there's a lot of things, especially happening with the Ravens. I have half a mind to believe it's premeditated and coordinated. Which I'm not going to go into massive
Yeah. Don't go
details,
into
but
that.
yeah,
That's a rabbit hole.
yeah.
Well, let,
It's
let me ask you a question.
here's
So
the red pill, everybody.
the contract that Mahomes is on right now is his 10-year, 500 million contract, right?
Yes.
So are you going to look at me in the face and tell me that Daniel Jones is $5 million away from being on the same wavelength as Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, exactly. No, no, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't believe that it's that much.
Like I would totally
Okay.
understand like a
Okay.
30
Okay.
something million dollar
Tangent, guys.
contract for him, but 40 is just that's way too much.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that. Going back to tight ends, which I think this is going to be the last point. Here's my last question to you guys. Predict next year's top 5 tight ends.
Uh,
Travis Kelsey.
yeah, Travis
Um,
Kelsey
Yep,
one.
Travis Kelsey. I agree.
Man, Man Andrews, if
Yeah,
Lamar comes
Manders.
back.
I would agree with that.
If
Pitts.
not, if not, then I would put TJ Hawkinson up there.
I all right.
Then
So yep.
Mandrews.
I've got Pitts over Hawkinson and then
And
Hawkinson.
then
Uh,
I don't think Pitts makes that much of a dramatic move up. I think he makes the top 5, but I don't think he makes the top 3.
so Pitt's at 5.
So I think Pitts at 5, and then 4 would have to be shoot. Honestly,
Kittle?
potentially, yeah, between Kittle and maybe even Goddard, if they keep up this whole run with the Eagles,
I think Kittle over Goddard.
So I will. Ooh, I.
potentially.
It depends on how high you want to make Debo. That's the question.
Debo's an
I don't
interesting.
think I think Debo is where he is going to be. Where he is right now. I think with the weapons that they have, they're going to spread it out and they're going to run more. So I don't think Debo is going to get very high up on the wide receiver list than what he is now.
I'll be honest with you. I think he goes back. And it goes back.
I don't think
I don't know. It'd be
The
something.
he
reason
does.
the reason why is that if Kittle and Debo are on the same field, Debo's always had the upper hand. That's just with 3+ years of looking at it, of 3+ years of stats. If it's Debo or Ayuk,
Yeah.
it's always been Debo. I just think the only issue Debo had last year is that he wasn't really at training camp because he was doing the hold in to getting the contract. And I think once you finally figure
Mm-hmm.
out this quarterback position, and then Shanahan has shown work with work with Debo. So that's where I think no matter what, Debo will always be in that, like, he will always be a puncher's throw away from being able to take a game over. Will he hit wide receiver 2? I don't know,
Probably
but
not.
I do think I'd be shocked if he's outside of the top 20.
I won't. I wouldn't be. For me, that we have very opposing views on Debo, but you could be as optimistic as you want. I just don't think that with the addition of CMC that they're going to need him.
That's very possible too. I would tell you. So going back to tight ends here, my tight ends at the moment, Kelsey, Mandrews, and then I'm going to go. I think Pitt's at 3 is how I'm feeling. That's just my honest gut feeling on it. And
Okay.
then I go Hawkinson 4, Okonkwo at 5.
Ooh, bold take.
Ooh, really high up on Okonkwo.
Yes, and
All
I
right.
just think between
All right.
opportunity and depending on whether it's Malik Willis or someone else, I definitely think Okonkwo is going to be in the mix.
Okay.
I like
So
it.
so you think Malik Willis won't be or might not
No,
be.
I think Indy takes a Q, or not Indy, but Tennessee takes a QB. Well, Indy's getting
I
QB
think it's
as
very
well.
possible because
Dang.
here's how I feel about any of the teams that took a quarterback last year. Atlanta, Carolina, um sorry, who did we just name?
Commanders.
Commanders
Commanders, yeah.
and Tennessee.
Yeah,
I think
Tennessee.
what they did is like, hey, there's a lot of toolsy prospects here. We're not sure how they will be. So guess what? We're going to give them 2023
Oh,
to
and
see if
Pickett.
they're the guy or
Sorry.
not.
Can't forget
And
Pickett.
Pickett. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you, Pittsburgh. So we're going to give them 2023. We're going to see if there's the guy or not. If we suck, Caleb and Drake May are right there in the draft next year. And
Well,
so
and I like
that's
the guy from TCU too.
I
Is
don't.
it Duggard? Duggard?
I'm
Is
going to
that
be
him?
honest with you guys. Nope, I am out. There's
You're out
actually
of him?
there are two players from TCU I am 100% out on, and that's the
Okay.
quarterback and Quentin Johnson, the receiver.
Yeah, I don't like him either.
Yeah, I just have way too many questions. And then after seeing a couple other players, I have him way down the list, even though he's projected, I believe, first or second. So I think that's tight ends, which is kind of painful to go through. But I want to just bring up the wide receiver episode. Ethan and Ryan actually created a grading scale that was a lot better than what we initially had. So this is going to be our amendment to Stat-A-Thon, and the last time we talk about Stat-A-Thon for the 2023 offseason. I
And then we can
actually,
move on with our lives and forget about this season.
yeah, really.
And what we have our therapy session next, right?
Yep, I believe it is therapy session,
Oh,
which
that's
Yep.
I'm excited for
I
that.
will need. So I'm going to go into running backs here. So I have a couple of outliers that I kind of want y'all to think about here. So Ryan and I played Would You Rather. He took Austin Eckler over CMC.
I would
Our
as well.
boom bust percentage says the same thing. Austin Eckler had 24% boom percentage, CMC 18%. Bust percentage, Austin Eckler, 0% CMC, 6%, which that one game ended up being the game he got traded. So there's that.
Hmm.
The highest bust percentage within the top 20, who do you think that belongs to?
Ooh, Dalvin Cook.
Surprisingly, no. Dalvin Cook, though, is one of the most up and down players. He had a boom and bust percentage of 24%.
Wait, highest in the top 10?
Top 15.
He said top 20.
Yeah,
Oh,
top
top
20.
15. Okay.
Sorry, I did say top 20. My mistake. It is a
Uh,
three-way tie for highest bust percentage.
Dang.
So
Bean.
All right, what you got?
if you can guess one of them, that's all you have to do without looking at the spreadsheet.
I
Top.
already looked at the spreadsheet,
Oh,
so
really? Okay.
Who is it?
I cheated. I'm sorry.
All right.
Uh,
Ethan is
give
up
me
to you.
names. Give me names.
Oh, you want the names?
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty, your three-way tie for highest bust percentage in the top 20 belongs
Oh, I
to.
know. I want to take a guess. Oh, it's
Oh,
okay.
you want to guess? You want to guess?
Just give it to
All right. You know what? I'll give you a guess here. Pick one out of these four:
him. Okay.
Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, and Miles Sanders.
It really feels like it would be Aaron Jones, but I'll guess Ramondre.
Surprisingly, neither of them. Miles Sanders has a higher bust percentage.
That's interesting. Well, that kind of feels right because towards the end of the season, it felt like it was just one bust after another for Miles Sanders.
Yeah, so Miles Sanders is tied with Jamal Williams and Travis Etienne for highest bust percentage. Etienne has a small excuse because he wasn't the starting running back to start, but
Yeah, for a
but
long time he
they
was.
they all had a bust percentage of 35% of their
That's still not
games.
that bad though.
Not that's the worst. Now the funny thing is you'll see, and when I show you quarterbacks, is how different the narrative is. But who do you guys think has the highest boom percentage in the top 20
For running backs.
for running backs?
Shoot.
It's got to be
Uh,
Jacobs.
yeah, Jacobs.
Jacobs is tied for second.
Interesting. Okay.
The
Who is
player
it?
the player who boomed the most, who had the highest percentage of booms, is Raheem Mostert, based on because he missed a couple games,
Wow.
but it's
Mm.
literally like apples to oranges there. So he did 4 in 16 games. Eckler, Jacobs, Dalvin Cook, and Jamal Williams all boomed 4 times this year and are tied for second highest boom percentage.
Yeah, Eckler was
Okay.
always enough.
Okay. I got I have something for you.
Yes.
I have something for you. This is a player that is outside of the top 10.
Okay, I'm not gonna.
For running
Outside
backs.
of the top 10 for running backs,
Okay.
Okay.
but had the same or better boom and bust percent, or the same, almost the same boom percent, but the same bust percent as most of the people in the top 5.
Is it? Oh, does his name start with a K?
No, I'll give you some names.
Okay. Okay.
Joe Mixon, Najee Harris, and Kenneth Walker.
Well, I know it's not Kenneth Walker now, so it's Mixon or Najee Harris.
Oh yeah, probably should have used a different name.
I think I'm going to say Najee.
Yeah, Najee. He had a
He
12% boom rate, so he didn't boom very often. But
Well, I
his
know he looked
bust
a
rate
lot better
was
in the
his
second
yeah,
half.
bust rate was 6%.
shocking to be honest with you, because I thought, I mean, we all called him as a bust preseason,
Yeah.
and I think
I
he
mean,
Now,
he
I
was
will
pretty
say,
consistent.
but
yeah
finishing as RB13 after finishing RB2, I still say that's a bust.
It is a
yeah
it is a
yeah,
definite bust when it
but
comes to
it,
overall fantasy.
especially
But
because you did have to give up a first round pick for him.
yeah, but
Right.
overall, I think this was a definite sophomore slump for him. But
But if you're
I
betting on 8 points a game, boy,
I
did he
don't know.
even hit.
He was a good like I don't know. He was a good flex player.
Yeah,
Like if you had a secondary flex
Yeah.
player, you could plug him in and know that I'm gonna get 12 to 15 points. Sometimes I'll get more, but 12 to 15 points was about his average. So, it's decent production for a flex
yeah.
player.
The thing is, I think with Najee, it's you knew his floor and you knew the
Hmm.
ceiling wasn't much higher. But I
Yeah.
think when it comes to not wide receivers, to running backs, consistency is the name of the game, and especially just looking at all these like the consistency scores that we do have, and for the most part, they rarely boomed, but
Hmm.
they were right there. And so that does make me think Najee's going to be a little bit more like valuable when it comes to like Jamal Williams or Ramondre,
Mhm.
Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook especially. And so it makes me go and like, okay, I'm going to keep that in mind for next year. And I'm looking at Najee, I'm looking at ETN, Kenneth Walker, and I'm
Mhm.
very excited. I'm very excited about those guys so
Yeah.
far.
I'm excited about ETN, Ken, and Algier. Because where did Algier
Yeah.
finish at?
So Algier finished at running back 28. He had a 6% boom and a 50% bust. Mind you, he was not the starter till midway through the year. So
And he's
that's
also
why,
in a three-man committee.
yeah, so that's why I'm willing to say I think we have to wait till next year to see the
Yeah.
changes because I think he's clearly taking over.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, he's
So
clear RB1 next year.
that's why his boom bust percentage I
I
am
just I
more
would like
willing
to
to
see
throw
a
out.
little more. Yeah, I would just like to see a little more end zone work from him. Like,
Well, that's what they did at the
of
end.
course,
Like
they
he was
yeah,
always
at
winning
the
them
end.
sucker in or
Yeah.
catching it and
Hmm.
getting tutties.
All right,
Yeah.
so I am going to give you a boom bust percentage, and you have to guess where this running back ended up. All right,
Okay.
guys. So boom percentage 13%, bust percentage 33%.
What were the average points?
Average points per game was 17.49.
Dang. Uh, um, I would say outside of the top 15,
Okay.
um, 17.
Yeah, I'm guessing a top 20 running back
Ready, Ethan? Do you have your guess?
of like who I think it is.
No. Well, yeah. Say who it is. Are you looking up the spreadsheet now?
Yeah, I'm looking at
Yeah, I'm
names. I
looking at
Okay.
it
think
now.
it's
So
outside of the top 15.
Ryan, you're a
What
wizard.
is it?
It's Alvin Kamara at RB17.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, it sounds about right.
Now,
hey, all right.
I was gonna
Honestly, I
guess
was
like
like
James
looking at
Conner
this
or
at
something like that, but
James.
yeah,
Okay,
I was
so
looking at the camera the whole time, I promise.
so
But
James
yeah,
can't. So James Con. I
okay.
almost said James Cameron. James Conner, very surprising as well. His boom percentage was 8%, but his
which is
buzz percentage
terrible.
was 15.
So he
Didn't
was
feel
really
too
good
bad.
Dang.
at getting you 18 points a game.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
especially and he was hurt also. So I think that's why I brought him lower on the list. But I went
Hmm.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean we were right that he would kind of fall off a lot and he dropped down 13 spots, but again, still very impressed with how he was able to rebound. Let's see who else we got here. DeAndre Swift. Y'all want to hear this one?
Oh God.
Boom
Give
Yes.
it to me.
Twist the
percentage
knife.
Boom percentage 14%, bust percentage 36.
Well, and granted, a lot of that he left games early after getting injured or was on a snap count. So I would say that's not the
Yeah.
worst thing in the world for him.
But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
It could have been much worse.
it definitely could have been.
I
So
honestly
let's
think it
see.
should be more busts
Yeah.
from him.
Yeah.
Just yeah,
So yeah,
for twisting the knife into his fantasy owners'
Into Alex's
hearts.
back.
yeah, really. And especially as I mean, we made the assumption in last episode is that I'm pretty sure that there's another running back about to join the fold there.
Yeah.
Kind of one of the last percentages I want to bring up to you guys. I mean, we talked about James Conner. Another similar person was RB11 and Joe Mixon. 7% boom percentage, 13% bust. So again, what's crazy about Joe Mixon is yes, he was a top 5 running back last year. And I believe he was at RB4, but it was just the touchdowns this year. The touchdowns didn't
Yeah.
really show up, and you know, he only busted twice, which technically is really once because of the Buffalo game, but he
Right.
only boomed once, which was his 60-point game against Carolina. But if
Right.
you in the name of consistency, which is kind of I think the theme of what you want out of your running backs, I think he's a solid RB2 option.
Yeah, I think he's a good option
Yeah.
after having like someone like a CMC or a Saquon or Eckler for this year. Even Dalvin Cook, probably. Because I don't want Nick Chubb and I don't want Derrick Henry. And we need to kind of see what happens in free agency on Josh Jacobs before we kind of.
Yeah, it's
But
being talked about that he's going to get franchise tagged, but then I still go and say, all right, who's the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders?
I don't know. Even if he gets
Yeah.
franchise tag, I think he's still a pretty solid option.
Yeah, and then even Saquon Barkley, I believe, is going to get franchise tagged by the Giants as well.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we got to talk about Dallas potentially looking for a new running back unless they want to stick
Well,
with Zeke and Tony Pollard having the
Pollard,
fractured leg.
well, I gotta say, they said, I heard a rumor, I guess, from the Dallas organization saying that
Welcome
if
back to
they
tea time.
don't if they don't reach an agreement with Tony Pollard, then uh, by a certain date, I think it was the middle of this month, then they are going to franchise tag it. So
I
they're
th-
for sure
yeah,
keeping Pollard.
I
I
would
would.
too.
Yep, I would too. But the big thing is be on the lookout for Dallas getting a running back. I think it's a given. I think it's I would almost put that in stone
Yeah.
because are
So
you
Dallas
really
goes for running back.
they will sign or draft a running back. I mean, because they've already
Hmm.
talked about like McCarthy's already talked about running the ball more. They're talking about Dalton Schultz not being the guy at tight end and wanting someone bigger. Looking at you, Darnell Washington, and so even on top of that, and then I'm like, are you really about to let Zeke run the ball?
No.
So there has to be another guy because
Yeah.
Pollard's not going to be ready till the beginning of the year. Not definitely not for the beginning of the year because of how late that fracture was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, who do you go with? Um, Now to get the quarterbacks, the funny thing about quarterbacks is they didn't really bust, but they didn't really boom either.
Yeah. It's very, I've been looking at this for like the last 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm like, this is an interesting spread
For
because
the QBs.
the top,
Yeah,
yeah, because like the top 10, pretty much the top 10, um, all have either 6%, 7%. The one outlier is, or the two outliers were Trevor Lawrence and Jared Goff, who had like 24% bust
Yeah, but
rate.
they struggled early and then turned
They
it.
struggled,
yeah,
yeah, and well, and they had a couple of games where it it's like they laid down on the field and gave up.
It's
But
just
you know, their boom
Whoa,
percentage
whoa,
was
whoa,
on
whoa,
par.
whoa, pause. Sorry, go ahead.
What?
Nothing.
unbelievable.
Their boom percentage was on par or better than the number one quarterback, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, like
So
that was mind blowing to me because I swear I thought Mahomes had a couple higher point games, but based on how we have done our boom grading,
yeah,
it was never really above 10. But he was
Yeah,
yeah,
almost so certain to get around 27 points a game that he was going to keep you in it no matter what. But
yeah.
I
Well,
think
that's what you want.
but I
yeah,
still think the boom bust percentage, Jalen Hurts is insane. 13% boom, 0% bust.
Yeah. I mean, if you can look at me in the face and say, I will get you 28 points every single game, like I'm trading for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really. And I mean, I think it's his rushing ability that just keeps
Yeah.
him in and eliminates the woes at, you know, when you have a bad game passing. So I I really think these dual threat quarterbacks have something special when it comes
Yeah, and
to
it's very
their
much the
fantasy
cheat
points.
code. It's very much the cheat
Yeah,
code. That's why we're always looking at
yeah,
Lamar, Josh Allen, even Mahomes to a certain extent. Justin
yeah.
Fields has now
So
entered that competition.
speaking of Anthony Richardson, just ran an official 4.43.
Anthony Richardson, you are the number one pick in
Jeez.
the draft. The Colts are going to take
No,
Anthony Richardson.
You
no.
think so?
I,
Really?
I think because again, I brought this up for the wide receivers, and I said Bryce Young might be the most pro ready. There's no way that you can tell me that Jim Irsay's not looking at Anthony Richardson right now, breaking all these QB records, knowing the O line's not that good at the moment, and then go, let's go get that guy. I don't care what we need. We have the fourth overall pick. Because if you take it from what the Chris Ballard
And he
perspective has
dusted
been,
everyone.
yeah, the Chris Ballard perspective right now is that we are a QB away from winning it all, and that's why they went after Luck, Philip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Jacoby Brissett,
Yeah.
and Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
But so now it's like let's take the athletic freak at quarterback and make this work. Who your head coach literally just made it work with Jalen Hurts.
Hmm.
Right.
To me,
That works for him
yeah,
because he can keep some of some of the things that help to be successful, but you don't have to take a chance on someone like Bryce Young because even though he might be the most pro ready, there are still question marks around him.
yep, exactly. And that's why
Yeah.
if I'm Carolina, I'm looking at what does it take to get the number one overall pick? Because I think it would almost be instant success for Anthony Richardson and Frank Reich because both Florida and Frank Reich like to use triangle reads when it comes to passing progressions in the offense.
Mhm.
So a lot of the verbiage and the teaching will be the same. And so
Which will
that
be good because
which would
having
be
that same language
exactly.
helps
Right.
with the transition into the NFL.
And so if
Exactly.
that happens, I have DJ Moore. I have who knows what happens at running back. I mean, Deonta Foreman. There's Terrace
Hmm.
Marshall we got to start looking at. So things get very interesting once
That
that
and
quarterback situation's figured out.
and I, man, I remember about what it's like 2 months ago or 3 months ago, people were projecting, or I saw a projection that had Anthony Richardson falling to the Vikings, and I was like,
No.
really?
Yeah, the
Like
issue
all the way down? I don't think he'd fall that far,
No.
the
anywhere near that far.
the
No.
issue was a lot of there was a narrative going about him that he's just super raw, he's not fully ready, but he has potential. And
Yeah,
then I think when people started going through the film, and you're getting a lot of open eyes at Indy right now, they
So
go,
yeah.
no,
let
he's
me
actually not that raw at all.
let me tell you one thing though about whenever somebody says super raw, lots of potential. Who else was that said about? Lamar,
Yep,
Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen,
yep. And
Yeah.
Mahomes too.
and Mahomes. Yeah.
And
So
of
like,
course, they can develop fast. Like Mahomes, he was sitting
Took
a
him
year
like a year and
behind
a half.
Alex Smith.
yeah,
Josh Allen, it took him about 2 years to really develop into
Yeah.
what he is now. So, it may take some development. You're not going to expect you know, a all-star, all-pro quarterback in the first year. Obviously there's a transition into the NFL and there's development. So I don't know. These teams that expect to draft and plug in a pro ready quarterback, I don't
It
like
doesn't
it. I
exist.
think it doesn't. It doesn't. And
And look
I
at like
just
Trevor Lawrence too. Like
yeah,
now it's taken
took
him
about a
almost
year and a half.
2 years to figure
yeah,
out.
it
Yeah.
took about a year of him adjusting, and obviously I think it was a lot to have to do with the coach,
But
but
yeah, now that he
you know,
didn't have someone kicking him
yeah,
around the field.
Yeah,
exactly. Having that that time though to adjust to being in the NFL in a pro system. I think he's developing now, so you know we could see that from Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Okay,
definitely
well,
think we can.
honestly, like I don't think we have much to say on
I
the
think,
quarterbacks. Do
gentlemen,
you have anything, Josh?
that is Stat-A-Thon for the
Yeah.
All right.
2023 off season.
We have concluded our Stat-A-Thon. And thank you guys for listening in. As always, like and subscribe our YouTube channel and make sure to hit up our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Last Place FP. We post every time we upload a video, so you'll get updates. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will be having our what is it? What did we call it?
I
The
believe we
A
are.
therapy session?
Yep, I believe it's the.
official fantasy therapy session.
I
Um,
will confirm that.
it's kind of a sit and cry. Last year's champion from our league will be here. He is a
The Rev, the big
he is a
man,
licensed counselor. So we
Captain
will
Baldy himself.
yep, Captain Baldy himself will be in the house and we'll be talking about last year, our woes, and what just things that went wrong all last year. So be sure to tune in and join us for that podcast. We'll probably drop it Friday or Saturday next week. So, well, Friday or Saturday, yeah, next week. So, yeah, be sure to hit us up.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
y'all.
Don't forget to like and subscribe at Last Place FP.
I already got
And
that, Josh. Come on,
Ethan,
step
We'll do
with
it
it,
again.
man.
Always remember, sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're right.
Yep.
all right. We'll see y'all for our much needed fantasy therapy session. Have a good
Oh,
one, everybody.
especially, yeah.